All righty, welcome to Exercise Physiology. This is the first lectures that we missed that first day of class. So for this online lecture, I'm just going to go through some of the basics of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 real briefly, really focusing on this one concept that's really going to be a theme in literally every chapter we go through. And it's this idea of homeostasis, this idea that we are aiming literally in this entire class to see what factors are involved in the body maintaining a common internal environment irregardless of the external stimulus. Now, in this case, we're talking about exercise, but really exercise can be a lot of things. I think sometimes we think of exercise as, I'm going to run really hard. I have a soccer or lacrosse or baseball practice. I'm going to, lift for an hour, lifting weights, things like that. Whereas really any activity, any age, whether you're 20 or 70, is a stimulus that may potentially disrupt the body's internal environment. So that's key to understand. And so a lot of the things we'll talk about in this class are what are some of the processes involved in keeping things like body temperature, which is a big deal, and we're here in South Florida, normal. Keeping blood glucose levels, normal. Keeping pH, normal. Things like that that are key for humans to remain alive, kind of a big deal. When there are numerous external stimuli going against that, high ambient temperatures, you eating a lot of food or not eating a lot of food, engaging in deciding, hey, I'm going to run a half marathon. All of those will affect blood glucose, pH, body temperature, and how does your body keep those normal? And so a lot of what in this class we're going to talk about is what are means in order to do that. So typically in these systems, in these situations, there are factors that are involved in this. One is what we would just call a sensor. The idea that there is something in the body that's going to sense that there is a change going on. As we'll see in numerous systems in the body, that can be pain receptors in the skin, which are technically the nervous system. That could be muscle spindles or Golgi tendons and skeletal muscle. That could be different baroreceptors, which sense pressure in blood vessels, like the carotid artery and the base of the aorta. There are receptors, sensors out there, and your body is finely tuned to sense changes in pH, blood glucose, numerous other things we're going to talk about. Second part of this is there's a control center. Now, commonly, though not always, commonly in this class, this is where we're talking about the central nervous system. Often the hypothalamus. We're going to talk a lot about the hypothalamus in this class. It's a key component of not just the nervous system, but also the endocrine system. And both of those have key roles in maintaining and regulating body functions. But they're not the only places that potentially have a role. The spinal cord is going to play a role, especially in muscle contraction. And so we'll see this, even places like the lymphatic system will play a role when we talk about the immune system. And then there's going to be effectors. And this is what we're going to spend a lot of time in this class talking about, because effectors are going to be places in the body where we see these changes. And this literally could be any organ system in the body. In this class, we're going to focus heavily on cardiovascular, endocrine, muscle, immune system, places like that. However, it really could be really just about anywhere. And this is where we're going to see actual alterations in cell function, proteins that are produced, metabolic rate of certain cells, whatever that may be. And so to kind of give you an idea of what this looks like, this is just an example. I'm not going to ask you to memorize this. This is specifically just body temperature and maintaining normal body temperature, not becoming hypothermic, decrease in body temperature, hyperthermic, increase in body temperature. As you can see, depending on the stimuli, whether it's an increase in external temperature or a decrease in external temperature, there are mechanisms that involve capillaries, blood vessels, cardiovascular system, right? the brain, central nervous system. Here we have sweat glands, technically the endocrine system, although partially the nervous system as well. Skeletal muscle, muscular system, skeletal muscle system. And so these different systems all integrating to do whatever is possible to keep body temperature normal. Whether you decide to run in 98-degree weather with 90% humidity, like it is here in July at times in South Florida, or whether, like it may be here in January occasionally, where it's in the 40s, real occasionally. And maintaining that normal body temperature of 98.6, our body is able to do in both of those situations. And again, it's due to these feedback mechanisms of dealing with hypo and hyper extremes of body temperature, and then coming up with mechanisms to deal with that. So a lot of this class is going to talk about that. A lot of this class is going to focus on what those mechanisms are, what's involved. And one of the key initial steps of this is understanding what we call bioenergetics. And so the next lecture is going to begin the process of understanding how does our body form one of the most important compounds, which is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which every cell in the, well, almost every cell in the body uses for energy. So how do these various organ systems have energy to do what they need to do? That's going to be our next lecture. So that's where we'll go next time.